To do that, we have another segment of Tech Briefs. I am joined now by Ken Yeung from Flipboard. Ken, thank you so much, as always, for being here to talk about tech.
Thanks, Greg. It's nice to see you here.
So let's get to the biggest story, I think, of the week. And there's certainly some big ones, but none bigger than Disney Plus. This thing has been anticipated for so long, finally rolling out on November 12th. I mean, this is a huge, huge addition to the television streaming platforms that are already out there. One of the biggest competitors. All the other ones are nervous about it, and probably for good reason. $6.99 a month, the wealth of Disney's content, all available. Star Wars, Marvel, Disney's classic movies, Pixar, National Geographic. I mean, so much. But with the rollout itself, with everybody having their eyes on it, didn't go quite so smoothly. What happened with this?
So, this is an interesting thing because I think a lot of people did encounter this, and what we're talking about is it crashed. Like people were having problems accessing movies, streaming qualities, the whole kit and caboodle. The worst that you could possibly imagine about a launch, it happened. And I personally, for me, I didn't have that happen. I logged in on Monday evening, a couple hours before midnight, before the launch, was able to download it, install it, log in. And at that point, it kind of just blew me away in terms of like, what did I want to watch? I was about to go to bed. So it's like, what could I possibly consume? And, it was debating between, did I want to start, The Mandalorian, the new Star Wars series that's out there? Do I want to start something else? Do I want to go watch a movie, like a classic movie, whether it's an Avengers or Beauty and the Beast or Aladdin or whatever, or, go watch The Simpsons. And ultimately, that's what, it wound up being. I watched an episode of The Simpsons. But, aside from that crash that went down, I mean, now it seems like Disney Plus is working, but there are a lot of issues that plague Disney Plus, especially around their content. That people are complaining about how The Simpsons is in widescreen format, which is interfering with how the original pranks were displayed in the show, in the original episodes.
Yeah, we actually had Bill Oakley, one of the former showrunners of The Simpsons, on the day that it launched, and he was talking about that. He's like, talking about some of the stuff that he wrote, and he's like, yeah, but it's missing this part that's the whole key to the joke, and that's kind of unfortunate that they don't have that option. So that's definitely something that, I know hardcore Simpsons fans definitely want that. People who are fans of the show, people who are watching it new for the first time, maybe they don't know what they're missing, I guess. But you would think that maybe they could provide that option on that. And that, like you said, some of the different issues that they're having, content-wise, you would assume they'll get that worked out. But it's a little bit surprising they didn't try to figure out some of this stuff before they launched this massive service.
Yeah, I think Disney Plus, for all its intent, they have like they're banking on your nostalgia. The people that are going to be watching this, they kind of already have seen these shows, these movies, these episodes before, so they kind of shouldn't. Disney's probably thinking, look, all right, you've seen this Simpsons episodes 50 billion times, so do you really want to see this gag over and over again? And the reality is, like, who are you to kind of really interfere with that? For this is how we enjoyed it. This is how I enjoyed watching like Swiss Family Robinson back then, and now, and also with The Simpsons or whatever favorite show you have. But this also brings up another issue where Disney's also throwing up disclaimers in certain shows and in movies, saying like, look, this type of stuff that you've seen here is not representative of modern day culture. So, I can't cite anything specifically, but I know that there's been reports about like, racist behavior or something of that effect that's kind of being, that Disney's trying to step away from and say, look, this is done way back in the day. This is different times, different era. So you have to understand in that context, this is not who Disney is now. So there's a lot of a little bit of a PR crisis that Disney has to deal with. I don't think this is going to really impact them. I mean, look, they announced that, like, was it 2 days after they launched, 10 million subscribers?
Yeah.
Now, the caveat there is how many are actually going to stick around after a year? Now, realizing that most of them probably got there from a free year of Verizon or other marketing gimmicks that were out there. I paid for mine for, like, I'm locked in for 3 years. And, whether or not what happens after that time expires, will I continue to be a subscriber? So that number is pretty impressive, that 10 million.
Right.
Whether or not, I mean, it's well short of Netflix. There are hundreds of millions of subscribers. but I mean, it's only the first week for Disney, so
Exactly. And I think, with all of that back catalog and the new content that they're going to keep on pumping out, because they have the money to do this, and they've got those premium brands of things like Star Wars and the Marvel Universe. I think that's where they're going to start getting more people hooked in, especially when the new Marvel shows start coming out and where it's tied into the movie, so you have to watch it to understand something that's going on in the movie. That's where they're going to get us hooked. And I do think it's going to go up in price, that's for sure. It's not going to be $6.99 a month forever.
Well,
but
it can go up. It'll probably go up after 3 years, but for me, I don't really care. But no, I think that's. But what we talked about recently, a few episodes ago, is that a lot of these streaming services are raising their prices.
Yeah.
Netflix is starting to raise their price but it took them a while for Netflix to do that. And so, as we talked about original content, Apple's spending billions of dollars, and Disney will probably also spend billions of dollars on just one series. So. Disney we could start to see Disney raise prices, maybe whether it's in next year or the year after, I don't know, but it's not going to be fixed at $6.99 for that long.
Nope, but definitely something to think about. We're both subscribers, so I'm already in. We're 2 of 10 million. But you can check out more about that, of course, at Digital Trends and on Flipboard. All right, let's continue on. So another big story this week, Apple, when it comes to hardware, a couple of hardware announcements. The first one being the new MacBook Pro, something we've been anticipating for a while. Apple just kind of threw it out there. There was no real big fanfare, no huge performance that they do, which they usually do for a lot of their products. This was just, oh, by the way, here's a new MacBook Pro at 16 inches. It is a pretty impressive version. Some updates to it. They fixed some of the keyboard issues that people get kind of upset about when it came to the keyboard, so they fixed some of that. The screen, the bezels are a little bit different. You've got a really nice screen on it. Overall, it sounds like it's actually a really great computer.
Yeah, I mean, the specs are top of the line. I think people will get this for probably 2 reasons. One, it's an inch larger than people's typical 15-inch. I mean, what would be interesting specifically with that is those that have book bags or bags that have slots for 15-inch computers. How will this account for that extra inch? Who knows? And whether or not the bag industry is going to have a field day as a result of this.
I did not think about the bag industry when it came to this.
Apple's going to acquire a bag company. You never know, just for that.
Yep.
But I think but seriously though, I think it's going to be with the keyboard, right? I mean, everyone was complaining about the butterfly keyboard with the accuracy, and Apple has kind of done a mea culpa and said, look, bring your laptop in, we'll fix it, blah, 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 and everything like that. Now, instead of a butterfly keyboard, you have a scissor keyboard. It's back to the original. But there's no word whether that scissors keyboard is actually going to be implemented retroactively or I mean, back to other models of the MacBook. So I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens next year when they release new hardware, if they're going to follow suit with this. But I think the fact that this kind of has some sense of exclusivity, people will start to go after this. But I mean, the fact that it's like over $2,000 for a MacBook Pro. I mean, this is
right.
It's probably average, but I don't think it's going to be necessarily something people are going to want to open up their wallets wholeheartedly for.
Yeah.
This is certainly for a prosumer. This is going to be for the creative people. I mean, but that's the trend for tech companies when they release new hardware. It's for the creative.
Right. And then there'll be some other versions that come out later on, lower down. But yeah, going for those creators, they do have an 8 terabyte option that I think goes for around $6,000. 8 terabytes, which is ridiculous. But still, it's definitely heading toward that creator side of things. That's the MacBook Pro. Again, you can read more about that, Digital Trends and Flipboard, so a lot with that. One other hardware announcement, and I know you know about this. We're talking about the Motorola foldable Razr. So this is another one that we've been anticipating for a long time. We knew they were working on something, but bringing back the classic Razr with the actual foldable screen, doing it in a different way with that foldable screen than Samsung's done or Huawei, kind of hitting both the sentimental side, I suppose, nostalgia, but also showcasing some new technology with the screen on the front when you fold it down. Personally, I kind of want this.
I definitely want this, but not for the phone, and it's simply just for the flip. Now, if you remember back in old school Star Trek, I think it was like the original series with Captain Kirk and Uhura and Spock, when they're opening up their communicators and there's that flip action. Like, this is kind of what it reminds me of.
Yep.
But of course, anyone back in like the 90s and 2000s that had when they first had their first phone likely had a Motorola Razr phone. I mean, that was
It was the
the
coolest
top of
one
the
to
line.
get. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the iPhone of that time. So now they've kind of made it combine the benefits of an iPhone, or in this case, an Android phone, with the Flip, but it's going to cost you $1,500 for that phone. Now, I mean, if it was top of the line, great, but this is a mid-range phone in of itself, right? You're basically paying $1,500 for the Flip. It's almost like, yeah, and inside it's bare bones, right? I mean, you have a decent software, you have decent camera, decent hardware, but it's not, Motorola does. Yeah,
Decent
it's
being
decent.
the key. Yeah.
Yeah, Motorola doesn't have the necessary expertise in terms of like from an AI or from a software in terms of the camera, or all this other stuff that is heavily touted with the Google Pixel, with Samsung and Apple. So this is kind of like, all right, interesting. And
Cool.
whether or not this comes back, whether we start to see more of these flips, flip phone type form factors, will be interesting to see. I mean, Samsung at their developer conference, they announced they're supposedly working on a clamshell flip phone. So Motorola beat them to the punch. But I think it's kind of interesting that Motorola has gotten something right in terms of how the screen looks, bend and the flip.
Right.
But Samsung was the first with a foldable, technically, but they're foldable.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so that's, I mean, I think we're going to see maybe I think these other companies getting into the game it's great. The key thing with the Motorola Razr, $1,500 is too much, but if it does make the Star Trek sound when you flip it open, that might be worth the $500 extra right there. I don't know.
Oh, it's the satisfaction you get when when in the rare occasion you make a phone call and you just want to hang up on somebody, say bye.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah. Do the Wall Street thing, buy, sell. Snap
exactly.
Close. There it is.
That's all I want to do. I just want to review it, to walk down the street and just do it all day.
Okay, I'm in. All right, well, Ken, thank you. As always, this is Tech Briefs. Every single week, we keep you up to date on what's going on in the world of technology. If you're watching the live video, don't forget, we're a podcast. Hit the subscribe button, share the show, let everybody know about it. We will make sure you know the most important things in technology. Ken, thanks again.
Thanks, appreciate it. See ya.